Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and I have to admit, this is not a video that I really wanted to do, but it was one that I had to do, and I'm going to try to keep my emotions in check because I can get a little excited about it. And why can I get a little excited about it? Because one of the things that I've tried to do over the last 20 years is get people to seriously investigate not only the physical anomalies behind 9/11, but all of the things that we went over yesterday in Fabled Enemies, the backstory, the continuity of government, the Saudi Arabian, Pakistani, and Israeli involvement, the war games and warnings. And that's why after we did lose change and I felt like we were being pigeonholed by quote unquote debunkers via scientific consensus and analysis on things like the demolitions of World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7, challenging us on what had happened at the Pentagon and at Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I said, I'm going to make a movie where that's not even in the discussion, even though obviously all of these are valid concerns. And then you have people that absolutely 100%, whether they're doing it purposely or not, poison the well. And Judy Wood is that person. I constantly see every time I talk about 9/11, and sometimes when that's not even in a subject, the name come up. Dr. Judy Wood, Dr. Judy Wood, Dr. Judy Wood. Now, I'm going to tell you the moment in which I realized that Dr. Judy Wood was verifiably insane. And then we're going to work our way back. Okay, through a lot of different technologies, such as directed energy weapons and obviously nuclear devices, both of which were viable and utilized technologies of the military-industrial complex prior to 9/11. We're going to show you that. But the moment that I knew that this woman was completely and totally insane is while I was at InfoWars, I remember we were watching a video of her and Nico Haupt. And for those that don't know who Nico Haupt is the person that came up with the no planes theory, TV fakery, West Cam. We will get into Nico later and how I met him before We Are Change was a thing, before Loose Change 2nd Edition was released. And Nico is also an insane person, okay? But don't take my word for it. You're going to see why in a moment. Nico Haupt in this video with Judy Wood was dancing around in his underwear throughout the video. It wasn't just like a small thing, with a pumpkin-like demon mask on. I can't describe it. I hope that maybe somehow someone out there can find this video. So now let's get into Dr. Judy Wood and how she not only adopted the no planes theory, which was adopted by other people who I believe were disinformation agents. Someone like Morgan Reynolds, for instance, who was a member of the Bush administration, came to the side of 9/11 truth. And then what happened? All of a sudden, he's a no-planer. All right? That's a big thing. And even Lynn Wood, we're going to show you that as well, who recently was obviously involved in all this Trump stuff, has gone to no planes. And the media runs with that. And you will be immediately discredited, and rightfully so, if you say that. You have, an abundance of witness accounts and videos of the planes hitting the buildings. Now, does that mean that they are the commercial airliners that were claimed to be? No. But planes, yes. Okay? Let me say that again. Planes, yes. And Judy Wood, let's be a devil's advocate here. I'm not saying I agree with this, but let's say that directed energy weapons were used, okay, in taking down the towers. Well, how would you discredit that? Well, you'd associate somebody with a lunatic, a verifiable lunatic, Nico Hopt. You'd make them act like a lunatic, Judy Wood, and you would go with the no planes theory on top of many other things that we'll get into. Now, does that mean that I believe in thermite and a more traditional controlled demolition? Excuse me. What I want to say very clearly is this. There were bombs in the building, some of which went off before the World Trade Center was demolished, both underground, okay, in like the subsections, it went very deep, and on the ground level, period. Now, there are reports of other explosions going on throughout the day. We have covered the Israelis, but think about it. We were at that 21st anniversary, and it was almost like a meme I would see everywhere. And now I've seen people who have not only adopted the no planes theory, but now telling people there was no one in the towers when it was brought down. Absurd. Absurd. So what I do want to make clear is that I think there is a very real possibility that other technologies other than traditional demolition and thermite were used in the attacks. Now, I stick to what I can prove. So basically just disproving their lies is what I stick to. And again, you can look at this, and I can show somebody this, and on the side, this is something I scanned in. This is from September 16th, 2001. And what they're looking at, those items that are being recovered now, are pieces, Bakarsky said. This is the head of FEMA in New York, Peter Bakarsky. We're still at the top levels. You probably aren't going to find body parts or nothing because of the fire, of the blast. When you're talking about temperatures of 2,700 degrees, what do you have? You have a cremation effect. Now, first they told us it was a pancake collapse. They said that the steel had melted through, and then they said, no, it had just weakened because 2,700 degree temperature is not possible. Now, I also want to show everybody that, again, I'm very well aware that directed energy weapons exist. Annie Jacobson writes about them in the Pentagon's Brain, okay? So you look at this. This is a blast wave accelerator, no barrel. This is, again, prior to 9/11. This is, you can see in the corner underneath the lower third, Future Strategic Issues 701. Excellent stealth, no plume, affordability, ferocity, reaction time. You notice the survivability. That's pretty interesting as well because it tends to say that maybe they can ramp it up or take it down. Okay, recallability and effectiveness. And they talk about how it's being worked on at Aberdeen and NASA MSFC for lofting of fuel and nanosats. And we've talked about the nanosat technology. All right? But what I'm going to do next is I am going to show you, because I don't want it to be speculation, that Judy Wood does indeed support no planes. This is her website, drjudywood.com. And this is one of the many articles on this, supporting evidence for no planes and directed energy weapons. And you notice, again, I've constantly been attacked. Alex Jones, Stephen Jones, the Loose Change Boys, Webster Tarpley, David Griffin, we're all there. Conspicuously absent were Judy Wood and Morgan Reynolds. Okay? So this has been going on. I mean, I've been dealing with this for 15 years. And the video, again, that I saw over a decade ago just confirmed for me this is a crazy person. Okay? I want to put it out there. And remember, you can go to this. I'm going to put this in there right now, debunking this idea that no planes hit. But we're going to let Judy speak for herself. And you tell me if this sounds like somebody that has a grip on reality, because the story she tells is she immediately knew that no planes had hit the towers. Now, I don't care what field of science that you're in. That's a pretty bold claim. Okay, so again, this is an operation, but we'll get to the operation aspect and the mind control aspect and even the Mossad connection that nobody's going to be expecting in a few moments.
Now, in your book, you say that that you actually saw on television the hole that the plane had made, and you said that you were with some colleagues and you actually laughed at the TV screen.
Kind of having a smirk on my face, not
Right.
an out laugh,
Right.
but
Now, just explain why you reacted in that way.
we laugh at, I don't know if you have the cartoons, Roadrunner cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just laugh then.
Yeah.
Because they're funny, because they're impossible.
Yeah.
Things that are impossible, you tend to giggle at. That's just the human response. And I looked at it like somebody's playing a joke on us. This
Right.
can't be for real. And I looked around the room. This I was in the faculty conference room, and people were
At the university.
yes, and people were looking at big screen television of this building unraveling and the events, and the colleagues looked back at me like, what kind of a weirdo? They didn't say anything, but they looked at me like, what kind of a weirdo did we hire? This
Yeah.
strange character who thinks this is funny,
Yeah.
or this is odd. Of course this is serious business. They had their pitchforks in hand mentally, as though they're ready to go get the bad guys.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to go take them all out. And they were following right in lockstep with what was being projected.
So the actual hole that appeared in the tower, why do you think that was? What was wrong with that hole? Why doesn't it match a plane hitting it?
Well, on airplanes, the wingtip isn't even strong enough to hold fuel in it. The fuel is held further, closer to the body.
Right.
What got to me was that upper wingtip slot. There was a 5-inch deep slot cut into the building. This can hold the lights on the end, but it can't slice a steel column.
Right. So the end sections of the wings would not penetrate
Right, they'd
the box
break off.
section steel girders,
As a
basically.
matter of fact, if you've been on a plane, you look out the window and read on the wing. It says no step, no step here, because the wing is
Just a
delicate
snap.
in places.
Right. Okay. So you realised that when you saw that image, and therefore you knew it didn't make sense. Now,
So again, right out of the gates, this person says it doesn't exist. Let's also talk about the planes, because if they're not the commercial aircraft, there's the chance they're built out of something else. For instance, when I talk about NASA, the material that they're using for rockets and satellite technology is still classified. Could have been something extremely different. And obviously, if you've seen Loose Change, the original, before I got involved in the second edition, they talk about the pod underneath those planes. Okay, and we show you the flash, and the flash is on 5 separate videos. So it does look like there's another device there. Now, to get to her other work regarding directed energy weapons, I do want to say that, again, there is a very real possibility other technologies were used other than thermite and traditional explosives. I've seen the burned out cars. I've seen the odd rusting and things of that nature from further away. But I also believe that there were explosives other places in New York City, Building 6 in particular. There's a video of a large plume coming up as one of the towers is demolished directly from Building 6. I believe there were explosives in Building 7. Okay, so I have to make it extremely clear that I am not close-minded to other technologies being used in the demolition of the towers. But Judy Wood is absolutely insane and poison. Now, when we get to Nico Haupt, and we're going to do that in a moment, but I just, again, want to show you how this discredits everybody. Lynn Wood claims no planes hit the towers and Pentagon on 9/11. We got played. All right, so now the Twin Towers are into it. Now if you question elections, etc., it's all part of the same thing. And then last year, the Star, wildest 9/11 conspiracy theories from the New World Order to no planes claim. Now, I cover the very real New World Order. And it's not like an organization where you get a card, but there is certainly a globalist collectivist agenda. Again, you lump them together, and everything gets dismissed. So now I'm going to bring in somebody that a lot of people are not going to be familiar with. And that man's name is Josh Harris. And we're going to put this right here because it's actually got a really good compilation I had not seen on Josh Harris before. Now, Josh Harris just happened to be with the Gelatin B group for the B thing. And if you're looking at that, what you're looking at is a window right here. See that little white dot that was taken out by these guys? Notice how they're leaning out the window? And as an Israeli art project pre-9/11. And Josh Harris was an internet pioneer prior to things like YouTube, etc. And he had an underground pod-based surveillance society that he built that was broken up. I know this sounds wild, but you're going to see a part of it in a minute. That was broken up right before New Year's 2000 because they were heavily armed and they were worried that they were going to have some kind of a Heaven's Gate, okay, together. Now, if you look at this Josh Harris, again, there it is right there. Harris also was involved with Nico Hop. All right, see, it's called We Live in Public. I'd encourage everybody to go watch this whole documentary, okay? And Nico Hop, by the way, gets interrogated in this video by an ex-CIA agent. Now, remember I told you about the video of Nico and Judy Wood naked, or like he's in his underwear. He's naked in the video I'm going to show you. And they're admitting they were running mind control experiments. Now, I first met Nico. Let's see if they have. I think they do have a picture of Nico in here. I'm almost sure. By the way, that's Lovey. That's Josh Harris. Very, very sane individual. Where are we? It's really extensive. Let's see. We got to get down to the TV fakery. So this is the pod living, all right, that I'm talking about. This is the art project, his art project. And this is the poster for We Live in Public. There's Nico, citizen of quiet. Now, I met Nico, again, way back before we even released Loose Change 2nd Edition, and he had done some decent work, okay, on some of the war games that hadn't been popularized yet, that hadn't been written about by Tarpley and others. But then he began talking about Westcam and TV fakery, basically real-time imagery that wasn't a hologram. Some people said hologram planes and all these other things. And look, believe what you like, but I believe that was to discredit the movement. The idea of no planes hitting the towers, having something so absurd nobody would look at it whatsoever. So now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to warn everybody, this is rated R. You're going to see some Nico Hop dong. All right, if you can handle it, great. I don't want to surprise everybody. All right, I don't want everybody to be like, Bermas, why did you show that? I'm showing it because it is literally that wild, and I think people need to know who not only Judy Wood was associating with, but where this no plane myth came from. Think about it. Did people really spend time talking about the real issues like the Israeli issue, the Saudi issue, the Pakistani issue, the continuity of government issue? No. Instead, we get memes about Judy Wood. And by the way, these people always attack the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, who I think are doing the real work and have an entire scientific community behind them. Does that mean, again, that I don't question Stephen Jones, who did projects on cold fusion back in the day? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I do. But let's get into it, and let's just play this right now. Yeah, here comes Nico. Again, warning, nudity coming. Warning, nudity coming.
A non-practicing Muslim is someone who was reared as a Muslim, but no longer practices the laws of Islam.
It was absolutely surveillance police state. I mean, just by walking into the premises, you basically relinquished all your rights to your image, to your actions, to your thoughts and your deeds. That's his now.
Any techniques that we can use to intimidate them, you know, to break them in essence.
And potentially.
So you can't see it, but that's Harold Kaufman, psychiatrist from the CIA talking to Josh Harris, who's running this program. Okay? So, again, whether you think Judy Wood is correct on her directed energy weapons thing, she's acting insane and she's hanging out with insane people, one of which was part of an underground program with a CIA psychiatrist. But let's just keep watching. Again, dong incoming.
You really hate the person.
Really?
I'm actually on disability. Been depressed for months now and came out here and saw this community, and I felt like this would be a jump start to get out of depression.
Manic depression, bipolar. You want to tell us something about that?
I have night terrors, hallucinations. I sometimes...
Voices?
No voices.
Interrogation room was a very frightening experience. It was a little bit like torture. In fact, it was torture.
I struggle with depression and anxiety, but I believe that I have choices around that.
Okay. Fabulous.
Horrible. It was so foul, so abusive, and so, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. It was really what people were being put through there, and what they let themselves be put through.
If you walk up to someone and say, take off your pants, they won't do it. But if you walk up to them with a video camera and say, take off your pants, they'll do it. Because the eyeballs that perceive that moment give it power.
Stand up. Back on your knees.
After a while, people were so obsessed from this hierarchy system that they got also a little bit brainwashed.
Oh, did they, Nico? They got a little bit brainwashed? So, again, part of a weird underground brainwashing program by a guy who's connected to Israelis posing as art students in a project in the World Trade Center. And now, by the way, Josh Harris says the FBI and the Mossad are both following him. It's just too beyond bizarre, folks.
It was really a psychological drill.
Josh, was into mind control and moving things around and would influence large groups of people and get them to do what he wanted them to do, and got off on that.
So Mark has to go in. Mark and Matthew in the same pod, put them all the way in the worst pod. Move somebody out of the
Everybody was sort of rats in his laboratory. And even if they didn't realize it, he was conducting experiments of what this technology would result in.
And he kept trying to pull me into it, but I didn't want to be interrogated or whatever. It just seemed like it wasn't going to end well.
So, I mean, Nico had experiments being run on him. That's really where I have to put it, guys. I feel like there is just so much other information that's important out there. I'm not mad at people who have opinions, but when somebody is promoted who I don't think is of sound mind whatsoever, doesn't look of sound mind, is around people who I don't believe are of sound mind, and again, you look at this guy, like Nico, he went off the deep end, man. He went off the deep end. And it's funny because when we were talking to Nico in New York City, it was like at a Les Jameson event. He mentioned Josh Harris, but I had no idea who Josh Harris was. It wasn't until much, much later. And I would, again, encourage everybody to go check out that Blackballed article and go down the line and learn about Gelatin B and learn about that art project and learn about Harold Kaufman, okay, the CIA psychiatrist that's running the experiments, right? There's Josh Harris himself. Really, again, you gotta look into this stuff. It doesn't make a lot of sense unless you're looking at it as a sub-divisive psychological operation that was kind of privatized. And that's how I'm gonna end it. So, guys, thumbs it up. I know I didn't even get 100 thumbs on this one. Subscribe and share, and check out all my documentary films. Again, I think that we need to focus on things we can prove. I try not to speculate or theorize without giving my evidence. And I just feel like, again, I had to address this issue because when you put that person down in like a chat room as somebody that's credible, etc., and I know a lot of people had no idea that she was promoting no planes or had anything to do with Nico Hop. You poison the well. And I know that there's plenty of critics out there that'll say the same thing about me and the Pentagon, but I tried to do right by that with Loose Change Final Cut, right? Going out and doing our own investigation and then making a picture like Fabled Enemies that doesn't discuss any of the physical anomalies. So once again, Shade, Invisible Empire, Fabled Enemies, and Loose Change, they're all free. To me, it is not about left or right. It is always about right and wrong. And you have to have discernment. And again, I just can't take somebody seriously, even if they're a scientist or a doctor who, I've met a lot of them. They do sometimes have very odd personalities. Judy Mikowitz has a very odd scientific personality. But when you get into like pumpkin masks and getting naked and stuff, it's beyond me. Or smirking as soon as you see the towers get hit or explode. It's all a little bizarre, guys. So I love you. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be mad at me for this one, but had to do it. It's how I feel, and I'll see you all on the flip side.